Welcome to an additional update of the markets given the fact that Bitcoin is still nuking south. So we're going to do a short update, and in this update we're actually going to discuss the price action of Bitcoin and what my expectations are when it comes to next week. And if you have missed the update of this morning, in which I just briefly shared my view, or at least I've shared some interesting indicators to look at when it comes to the markets right now, definitely check out the one that I've made earlier this morning. The views are skyrocketing. That's because of the volatility in the markets. Thank you for that. Thank you for the kind words as well. And I hope I can bring you all the content that you need to make justifiable decisions when it comes to the market. Before we're going to continue, make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Doesn't cost you anything, helps me out a lot. Don't forget, or make sure to like this YouTube update, and also make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I'm posting daily updates on the markets. And today actually has been an incredible story for myself, and actually a good day. And I'm a happy man, but that is irrelevant for the markets and for the content that you want from my side. So if you recall from the update from this morning, we've actually been discussing some metrics or some market psychology and human behavior, which we are currently seeing on social media. We're also seeing the fact that we're trading in the weekend, right? So we've got the CME gap close, or the CME close on Friday evening. We also have the actual CME gap that we still see between 32 to 34K, right? If you remember from the update from this morning. And usually weekend movements are quite trappy. So we've had a bounce back up today, but currently we are still acting around the lows. And I think that will just sustain during this entire weekend, as weekend moves are often quite trappy. And the actual move of the markets will happen when the CME is going to open tomorrow evening, or when the trading starts to happen on Monday, especially since the fact that the correlation between the equity markets and the crypto markets are quite high. Why is that? Well, crypto is still a very speculative market in which we are just a multiplier to the equity markets. When tech is doing shit, crypto will do the exact same, and then times two. So the reactions are based heavily on what the equity markets are doing right now. So trading in the weekend is usually just quite boring or doesn't make that much sense. If the equity markets are going to make a bounce next week, which might be likely given the fact that the sentiment is just lower than the sentiment than in March 2020, if that is going to happen, you will probably see the exact same taking place on Bitcoin at this stage. So it's tricky to make a justifiable decision when it comes to the weekend movements, but if you want to start building your position, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on building strategies, you might want to start accumulating. You're catching a falling knife, which is tricky, but buying back higher on a higher level is also quite tricky, as it can nuke through that level. So you can just split the risks and start building a position which you can add if there is another confirmation on the markets. You can also wait for that confirmation to come, and that is all that I'm going to discover, or that I'm going to discuss in the Monday update and in the live stream that I'll be doing on Monday evening. Enough intro, let's get towards some chart analysis. Let's get towards some higher in time frame outlook for Bitcoin. Let's head towards the charts. So the price action is relatively simple when it comes to Bitcoin. If we're looking at the actual CME gap, we see that based on the daily time frame it's 38.1. However, if we zoom in, the CME has closed on 36.7. If we are looking at the price action, it's very likely that after this weekend has, or is going to close, or starts open with the trading again, it's very likely that the CME gap will close towards the level that it has been closing on Friday. And it's also very likely that we'll be seeing a gap close, which we currently are seeing at 41K. But we also have one between 33K to 34.5, and it seems to be the case that Bitcoin is seeking for an actual test of that range. So I would not be surprised if we actually test 33K and then start bouncing back up the moment that the CME gap or the CME starts trading again to close the gap that it's created overnight during the weekend. When we're looking at the price action, very simple. We've got a beautiful weekly block that we're currently zooming into. We've also got the range low, which is the actual, where are you? There you are. Which is this entire region that we have been seeing a ton of buy orders getting triggered based on this candle. We are currently getting that test, or we're getting into that range, and then we have to readjust or adjust the strategy to what makes the decision worth to actually long, or what can we expect from that long. Based on the weekly time frame, we've got this entire block that we see here, right? So that is also something that you should be making sure that you understand that based on the weekly time frame, we've got some beautiful levels there too. On the daily, we have covered this in the morning update. We've got an RSI which is lower than the crash in May, which is similar to the crash in March 2020, and it's just a very much indicator of how strong this downwards move is, as we are down currently approximately 50% on the markets. Crucial level on the upside is getting quite simple at this stage. If we clearly want to wait to buy on a reclaim, you clearly want to buy when we reclaim 40.7, but it seems very likely that in this range we're going to have a sideways period once again, depending on how far the support will nuke or how far the price action will nuke before we can actually get a reaction. Also, the odds are that we're going to get something like this in the coming weeks, which creates a bullish divergence and a reversal structure, but that is still very short term, or that's still very early to say. I'm just watching or zooming in on a potential move like that. So that's the daily time frame that I'm looking at. What are we looking at when it comes to the actual lower time frames at this point? Well, we tried to make a move earlier, and I'm not going to zoom. Like, if you're looking at the 4 hour, it's far overextended on the downside too. So the chances of a bounce happening are getting quite significant. And when we're looking at the 2 hour, we get the exact same conclusion. If we're looking at the 1 hour, we might be in a case of a bullish divergence, which is still not confirmed. So when we're looking at even lower time frames, which might be the case at this point to actually start zooming in a little bit more, we can clearly see a rejection at 36.1, which is also close to the daily open. When we're looking at the price action, we're currently at support on the lower time frames, dropping beneath, and the chances that we're going to close the CME gap is going to be significant. If we hold here, we are potentially making a higher low and can start attacking 36.1 again, which is the trigger that is needed to actually get the price back towards 38.5, and then the CME gap of this weekend will be closed. So, as a conclusion of this update, will be high time frame support levels are here, and it's overextended to the downside given the fact that the RSI is also showing that. So probably during the weekend we'll be having some trappy moves, and the actual price action will be happening during the next week. I assume that next week will be green, and that the fear will slowly fade away. That's the update for today. Tomorrow I'll be back with a new one. Make sure to subscribe beneath and have a wonderful evening.